Okay, next item is the Banyan Garage update. Mr. Roog, Ms. Justice.
Good morning, Mayor, City Commissioners.
Good morning.
Roog, Executive Director of the Community Redevelopment Agency. I'm here with Allison Justice, Deputy Director. This is us, right? Right, Allison? That's us? Okay. Okay, we have 30 minutes. Okay, so we'll try to get through this relatively quickly. Really today is a very exciting step, I think, in a project that has been long desired to move forward. When we talk about, this says Banyan Hub, and what we're talking about today is essentially the Banyan Garage, which is located on the corner of Banyan Boulevard and Olive Avenue. Yes, between, anyways, we'll show you a map here in a second. But I want to preface this with, there isn't a week that goes by where I don't get a call from an interested developer that would like to partner with the city on this project. It's widely known in the private sector right now that this project is interested to be approached as a public-private partnership. And luckily, the interest is very much out there through several developers, where we've actually started a list of interested parties that are interested in working with us. And that's a really good sign. And I think because of that, city administration has said, let's accelerate and try to get, and sort of strike while the iron's hot, while the industry is really apt to do this for us. So that's really good news. So we're just going to go over a real brief history today about the Banyan Garage, and Allison will discuss that and the definitions, and just to give you sort of a general understanding of three P3s. And then ultimately, I'm going to talk about some of the aims of what we're trying to do with this public-private partnership for the Banyan Garage. And then if I could walk away with one thing, it's just direction, essentially to kick off the effort to get the process started. So this is almost like a pre-start to the start. It's really just to, if we could do nothing more this year than to just start the selection process of that partner, I think we're in really good shape. So that's what we're here to ask you for today. And then obviously we'll go through those steps, and then happy to answer any questions. Great. Allison?
Thank you, Chris. Good morning, Mayor, Commissioners.
Good morning.
I wanted to get in on the good morning game.
How that works, I don't know why everybody doesn't jump on it with me. Just, good morning.
So I wanted to start this by giving a little bit of history of the Banyan Garage, kind of where we've been in the process. This isn't a new conversation, and for those of you that have been on the commission, you've been a part of this conversation in the past, and really kind of get the blessing of this commission to move forward in a process with developing a partner for this site. The parking garage on 200 Banyan Boulevard was built in 1979. Really, the current challenges with it are it is nearing the end of its life. If you've all been in the Banyan Garage, it is an aged facility within the city, which leads to inefficient operations. They can't upgrade the technology. That it is a space that is basically on our waterfront. That's very valuable real estate as well. So there's some opportunities there for the city. We started discussing this back in 2015. We did a needs assessment back then, so we discussed this with parking, community events, everyone that utilizes this space on what they would like to see within the city if this project were to be redeveloped. Again, if you were on the board, we did have a competition back in 2016 for the waterfront and for this facility. We created a schematic design, and really the purpose of that was to develop what the needs of the city are. What kind of uses would we like to see in there based on our needs assessment, and what would the private sector need to see as part of a partnership with a P3 with the city. So again, we've been discussing with developers. As Chris mentioned, we get calls a lot on this. We've also had discussions with the YMCA that's been interested. So there's a lot of parties that have been interested in this facility. and we believe it's time to move this project forward. A little bit of background on public-private partnerships. This is just a textbook definition. There's a lot of variations of definitions of public-private partnerships, and there's a lot of different examples of what that can mean. And really, it's going to be a contract between this public agency and a private sector entity to do something that benefits the public. So we're going to be asking for instance, in this facility, parking that would benefit the public or a public open space. And that will be part of the negotiations with somebody that, that may be developing this property. It can go from the minimum of it's public design and they just build and bid on it, up to we can have someone finance it, operate and maintain it, and that the city would pay them back over the years for the public uses. So there's a wide range of activities that can happen within public-private partnerships. Some examples, this city has been involved in public-private partnerships to a different level. Old City Hall, again, this was a CRA and city-owned property. We sold one of the properties, we leased one of the properties, and in return, there was some incentives to the developer to provide public benefit. At that time, we were in need of the hotel. We were interested in the waterfront restaurant. So those were the public benefits in return for some incentives to the developer on that. Again, we've been working on the tent site, which was CRA-owned property, as well as the anchor site. I'm going to turn it back over to Chris, but we believe that the P3 with the Banyan Hub is going to probably be structured a little bit different than those. It is city property, but we do want some pretty significant public benefit out of it, namely parking, storage. We want to require some mixed uses, perhaps some public space in it, and we will ask the private sector likely to finance this project, potentially operate and maintain this project. We haven't come to that decision yet, but that's something for this board to discuss, the different options for what a developer would do in this. So I'm going to turn that back over to Chris.
So the purpose of this is essentially just to give you a very high level basic idea of what we're trying to achieve with this project. Obviously, this board has made it very clear we want to use private sector financing to make this project a reality using that P3 model. But it's pretty safe to say that we'll replace the parking that's there. 396 spaces currently exist in that parking garage. It provides vital storage for a variety of things around our downtown as it relates to Green Market, Clematis by Night, maybe even some traffic things, stuff like that. And then ultimately, there'll probably be some varied mix of uses as we redevelop the project, because you will need, in order to maximize a hub vision, you'll have a variety of uses. I think that's where the private sector really comes in, and we work with them to determine what those uses are. But ultimately, you'll have several ways to finance the project over time, where you have these different various revenue sources. A real basic way to look at it is usage fees. That's just somebody that comes in, parks or something like that, maybe pays rent. Or there's demand payments, which is actually just an annual contribution by the public entity. But there's a variety of ways that you could use those revenue sources. Obviously, what we want to do is lean more towards the usage fee side, because that's not money that really comes out of the city coffers. So in order to kick off this process, Allison actually came up with a really great idea, which is sort of this two-prong approach that I agree with, and I think is a really good way to move forward with it. Obviously, we'll need to work out the timeline and processes for everything, but just to give you an idea of where staff's head is at, is that first we would want to identify the qualified partner. Look at that resume and understand that a partner has the experience, has the financial capability, because if we're looking at a bona fide public-private partnership, this is a company or individual or a group of individuals that is going to be a long-term partner with the city. So we want to make sure that they have the experience and expertise to see the project through. And then secondly, of that small group of qualified partners that the CRA, or I'm sorry, that the City Commission and CRA both feel comfortable with, is then we would want to know, okay, well then what is your vision for this site that matches with those goals and ideas that are also important for the city and provide that public benefit. And we can do that through a variety of ways, and actually perhaps even include some type of a vetting group as well that is in addition to the selection committee to say, okay, this is something that we like and that we think is going to be a good addition to our downtown. So understanding if what we would want to kick off this year, and you generally have an idea of where staff's head is at, in order to move this forward, there are a variety of steps that we need to take. Number one is sort of establishing the project with the CRA. The Banyan Garage is a city asset, so there does need to be a formal step that the City Commission says, okay, CRA, you know, we're comfortable with you taking the lead on this project when we would do that. That needs assessment, we'll just, you know, circulate that around staff again to make sure that it is up to speed and everybody understands, okay, this is what they would like to see, and develop that wish list that would really help us express to the private sector what we're hoping or what we would like to see if we could wave a magic wand. And then also sharing some, I think, financial information that is also going to be critical to helping the private sector understand, okay, this is how we could make that project work. Again, still working internally, determining that selection process. That's something we want to be very clear with procurement on to make sure, because there's a variety of different processes that we have to abide by according to state statute. And then obviously bringing all of that back together, sharing it with you all, then drafting those solicitation documents before they go out, and then outlining that timeline, and then ultimately putting it out on the street. If we could do that this year, I would be ecstatic. This project is located in downtown. The recommendation today is basically to kick this off, and hopefully bring it back with more exciting just steps and actions and clarity on how the project will move forward, but ultimately to begin the steps needed to select that partner. So thank you all very much. Really appreciate the time.
Questions, commissioners? Commissioner Shaw.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for the presentation today. My only question, and I think you've outlined a good process to move forward, in that vetting of qualified partners, would you establish a criteria according to bonding capability, previous performance? There would be a set criteria, and then it would move forward based upon those criteria that were based?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, so is there consensus to kind of have CRA moving in the direction outlined? Any objection to it? Looks like a lot of nodding heads. Okay, so you have consensus to proceed, sir.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Appreciate it, Mayor, Commissioners.
Very good.